Hey guys, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer here. Thank you for joining me for my morning smoothie. I'm doing this broadcast because of a very specific commentary that are popping up on my page regarding the video I posted yesterday regarding votes in Atlanta. And I posted that video. I knew it was coming down the pipe, but I posted that video because I was having a online chat debate with a very dear friend of mine who I love dearly, who lives in Atlanta and is just basically convinced that he doesn't see any evidence of ballot fraud. And so let me show you I'm not going to show you all the dialogue. I just want to show you what I'm talking about on my page. And then I want to share some interesting facts with you. Hey, Tim. Hey, John. Thanks for joining me this morning. I just want to share some facts with you. Let's use some common sense here. Have you ever thought about who fact checks the fact checkers that say they check the facts? How does that work, right? And because we're all worried about who really has the real information. So let me show you a few things first. And I couldn't help but just laugh seeing this, and that's why I used it as my screen, the old Bill Murray, right? And that's a fact, Jack, right? Is because that's said as in sarcasm, and it kind of got into our vernacular as a culture. But is this election stuff something that fact checkers really know anything about? So I'm going to show you the post on my page, so you can find it on my page here at Facebook at Jovan Hutton Pulitzer. Hey Chris, how you doing today? Let's see, I'm gonna go to my screen. I am going to share screen. I'm gonna go here, and we are talking about this. This is the post on my page you need to find. And I posted, do you live in Atlanta or Georgia? Watch this video. Now, all over the nation, since now this is posted, video shows poll workers pulling out suitcases of ballots during Georgia election hearing. And Facebook has flagged this as missing context. Independent fact checkers say this information could mislead people. Okay. Now, if you were to go to the site and you were to click the link, right? Hey, Judy, how you doing? Hey, Sarah, how you doing? No, you're looking good on your way to Dubai. Have fun over there. Yes, Tim Conrad, fact checkers or narrative editors. That's exactly what it is. Danny says fact checking is a ridiculously unimportant nuance of a story in order to debunk the entire story. I too believe there's not fact checking for fact checking sake. They throw up quick fact checking saying this is debunked to only try to control the narrative. This is what the video looks like, just to show you from the video standpoint what this looks like. And it's basically, here's the live video of it. And I'm going to just kind of let this run at the moment as I talk about this. And you're basically watching closed circuit camera. Now, what's really interesting is State Farm Arena is where this is. I happen to know this arena, happen to have an event that was going on there tomorrow and the 12th, big basketball event. And so I actually know this arena. And this was one of the places used as the ballot counting places. Not really municipally owned properties or controlled properties, just an independent place, quote unquote, they set it up. When this was set up, it was forgot by whoever set the event. Now, they probably won't make that mistake again, right? It was forgot. Let me see if I can pump up that just a bit to maybe let you see it a little more detailed. I don't know if that popped up in your screen, but you'll see it. They forgot that this place is independently monitored for security reasons. So in this particular area, there were multiple camera angles. And so in trying to, now there's a commercial going on, so let me get off that. And trying to understand what was going on, somebody got the great idea, hey, let's pull the video. Now, Chris, you're right. I'm going to address this right up front, folks, and I'll do this as a disclaimer. You take it any way you want. I started getting hammered yesterday because when you hear the hearings going on, and you hear the lawsuits and stuff, and you see Giuliani and the Colonel and everybody sitting there going to these different cities battling this about ballots, yes, my name comes up in the official record. It comes up in the official record for basically 3 reasons. All of these voting systems basically are tracked by codes, whether it be a barcode or Q codes, my original Scan to Connect, Scan platform, whatever. I'm the creator of the platform that made all these things scan and talk. So like when you go to the airport, you no longer present a boarding pass and it's just on your phone with the code. That's me, right? And so I sit in a very interesting level, understanding how all this works and creating that system. And my software is approximately, or my patents, because everybody has their own software variations, but my patents are approximately on almost 12 billion devices around the globe. And so I sit in a very unique position, not only understanding how this works, but being called on by the president and legal team to say, hey, help figure this out. And that's why I say to you, let's don't take it from a legal from a politics standpoint. I don't care if you're a Democrat. I don't care if you're a flaming liberal or a tree hugger or a whale hugger or the weed party or independent party or conservative or Republican or whatever the case may be. This is an American issue because it doesn't matter when it happens, but if we lose control of our elections, then our votes never matter, right? Votes never matter, right? Then it affects the whole country. And I'll just address this like Mark Richards here just posted. This is a prime example of why social media is filled with idiots. It's also a prime example of why this type of critical issue is ignored. If you had half a brain, and I'm looking at a photo here with you, Mark. I'm looking at a photo. I'm looking at a photo with technically what might be a child. If you're totally okay with your child growing up in a communist system, and what I don't know, I can't look at your profile as I'm doing this. What I don't know if you're even in the United States, but if you're okay with your vote not mattering, right? Then you're fine, dude. Get back to the gemstones, dude. Have at it. However, not a Republican issue, not a conservative issue, whatever it is, right? This is an issue of the American voting system, and does your vote matter? So the reason I posted this video for people to look at, let me go back to it, right? The very reason I posted, I don't even know what happened here. Now I'm on skipping ads. There you go. They got me in an ad lock. The reason I even posted this is you have to understand this video came from the security company. Okay. So now let's talk about fact checkers, right? Let's fact checkers. And let's talk about even the notations, which I showed you of what goes on, right? What goes on in fact checking? People flagged when I posted this because I was one of the first ones posting it, putting it out there because it was actually witness testimony going on. And it got flagged as it's not true. It's not, even somebody even watched it at this say, well, that's been debunked. How does that been debunked before anybody's seen it. And that's the point. See, that's the point. This is about mind share. This is about controlling minds. And you have to separate how your mind is being masturbated versus what really is going on. The video in question is not just some random video. It's a video that is part of a legal proceeding with a chain of custody with affidavits behind it from the company pulling the video, does the video, from the stadium saying, yes, this is our provider, from them certifying it, from observers looking at it, etc. etc. Okay? You have to understand that you can't just come on, oh, that's crap or whatever. Somebody posted some weird comment. Well, if you believe that, then you'll believe every movie actor acting in a sequence is the real person. No, just take for what it is. Take what it is. I can tell you of all the comments I've seen of people bitching over this, right? One particular person, Anthony Johnson or something like that. Oh, that's fake, that's whatever. And so I asked Anthony Johnson okay, you sound like you're a professional poll watcher, this is what you do, because he said, well, poll watchers come and go all the time. And obviously he's not. So here's what I'm suggesting is go back and look at my wording, because I'm trying to practice this myself, okay? So let me stop sharing my screen and let me just go back to my wording that I put on this. Okay, let's see, where is it? I think it's here. Here you go. Do you live in Atlanta or Georgia? Watch video. That is all I posted. That's it. Did I say this was right? You were an idiot. That was a joke. Blah, 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 or any of that? No, I just said watch it. Because if you're in Atlanta or in Georgia, this should concern you. Just so you understand the chain of custodies, because I see people saying, well, that could be a first aid kit. Did they obviously watch the whole video? Did these 4 sets of people need first aid? Well, you didn't see first aid administered. They just kept on feeding ballots to the machine. The ballots were officially supposedly shut down. Nobody's supposed to do it, but they stayed back feeding ballots to the machine. This was the place we heard that they were going to stop counting because there was a main city water break. There wasn't. There wasn't a water main that was broke. There wasn't some big water tragedy that everybody had to leave. It was whatever. So you have to ask yourself, and here's what I don't get people not understanding. Set this vote aside. Set any of your Trump dislike aside. Think back to past elections. Elections run all freaking night, right? Elections run all freaking night. And you're right, John, in some way people have gotten dumb. And it should worry you whatever state you're in. It should concern every one of this. And you're right, it's very hard to say what's going on when making it up as you go and the media doesn't help the thing. What you have to ask is, are you going to be brainwashed or not? And so if you think back to past elections, you didn't see the counting shut down. What is wrong with 2020? Just ask yourself this. What is wrong with 2020? When says that voting is just going to stop and we're going to stop counting and we'll just pick it back up tomorrow. That's a brand new precedent. But in the cities of big question, why did it happen unanimously across state lines and counties and cities did this happen? Just look at that. Just look at that. And that should at least cause concern. You must take off your hate for this current president filters. And you must think of this as your future, your kids' future, your grandchildren's future. Because here's the bottom line. If your vote ends up not mattering, no votes then matter, and the system's broke, and then the country dies and withers away. I would strongly suggest you listen to my podcast on this, where I basically explained this one phenomenon and how it has affected other countries and brought countries down. So I have to ask you this. Even if you hate this president, do you want food lines, gas lines? Do you want to have all your private property possessions given back to the state? Now, I know some of you may be renters and not own a damn thing. Doesn't matter to you, but folks or friends or family, got to have somebody owns a house, owns some land, owns a building or whatever. That'll all get given back to the state, and we'll go on this system. And people in foreign countries know this. They've already experienced it. They have no ownership rights. None. It all belongs to the country. Are you willing to do that just because, or are you willing to stand for that just because you hate one particular president that the media has told you to hate? So all I'm saying here is this idiocracy of people saying, well, that's fake. I can tell it's fake. And I just have to ask, well, when was the last time you had to forensically analyze a video? What qualifies you to do that? When was the last time you were a certified poll watcher? How many times did you do it? How many times have you testified in court? How many times have you testified in front of Congress or the Supreme Court? Just because you can place a comment on a screen doesn't mean you should place a comment on a screen. Now, I made no judgment when I posted it, but you can see how quick people are to respond. And that's why our country is sick. I hate to say it, but America is sick. America has been poisoned. You know how it's been poisoned? Is social media and online has done it. Social media has basically done, well, everybody has a say in it, no matter what. Well, I don't really care if the person that is the gemologist, right, has a commentary on the polling system. It doesn't matter. What matters is people speaking in their expertise of facts, right? So you can't say that's fake because you have no basis for it. Just like none of us would go to our chiropractor to get our teeth drilled or redone. You wouldn't fucking go to your reflexologist to get your appendix removed. This is what experts are for. And so these fact-checking sites come up is no different than somebody setting up a page on eBay and say, I'm selling sculpture. Does that make them a sculptor? No, it just means they've set up a site. That's it. It doesn't mean anything. So I implore you, look behind the facts of the fact checkers. Or how about this? Do you think I could submit my resume, and I have an incredible vitae and resume, knowing that I am a conservative and have testified before Congress on all kinds of things, right? You think I could be a fact checker for Facebook or Twitter? No, I can't. For one reason, because I happen to be conservative. That's just kind of the way this shit works, folks. Please understand it for what it is. If you haven't listened to the CNN tapes with Zucker talking about how they combat and beat down the president and what they want the journalists to talk to, and I know Zucker, go back and look at my timeline. You're just looking back 3 years ago. You're looking at me there in CNN with Jeff, the top man. I know this. I understand it. Here's how it goes. People have agendas. What I posted was not an agenda. What I posted was take a look at something you might not see. Why? Because you're not going to see it on television. They're not going to talk about it. It does not fit the agenda. right? That's just it. And that's my only point, because I see people attacking each other, and I see people, that's fake, that's this, that's whatever. You have no basis for it. Also, another thing that just really irks the shit out of me, since I'm just venting, I see people from overseas, any country but the United States, commenting on this crap. This is fake, this is what, this is whatever. Let me just point something out. You don't fucking have a say. You ever thought about that? I have never in my mind ever thought I would comment on a Canadian election, or Trudeau, or what hair gel he used today, because it's just not my place. I have no basis in it. So, if anything, ride this out. This is the process. This is the process you have to go through. You're going to see a break in the media, and the break in the media is this type of evidence that's now coming forward. You can't back away from. Because I'm in the thick of it, I see far more than you see, but I do this because my heart hurts. When I come on this, I'm doing it because I could tell you shit that make your toenails curl, but I do it because I love America. And because you're on my page, you're giving me time. Your time's valuable. You're just being here is valuable to me. So I owe you back. And part of what I owe you back is try to give you the best transparency I can. But also at the same time, it's just saying, slow down a minute. You know, it's totally okay to say. You could say this. You could say, I hate that damn president. He's a wackadoodle goodle goodle. But I don't agree that elections can be run fraudulently. It's okay. It's okay. But we don't have to hate on each other. We don't have to be divided. We don't have to not talk about this as dinner table. So let me tell you something. In the undermining of any democratic society, and specifically the undermining of America, you know, we've all been told, don't talk about God or politics at the dinner table. Don't do it. Do you know why that's it? It's because if they can shame you into not talking about it, people can't compare notes. And if they can't compare notes, then people can't get new information. Chris, I'm gonna give you, I wasn't prepared for this, but I'm gonna give you one little bit tidbit here, because I will do this for you. I am going to show you, stand by. I am going to show you just a very quick part of my election work. Okay, just here it is. Hold on. I'm going to share my screen. I got to blow through some stuff really fast, which I'm not going to discuss, but I want to get to one area. This is it. This is my official document that we're going back and forth of how you tell these things. But I want you to see just this. Okay, this is a voter ballot, and this is why I'm even in this thing, is because the ballots are tracked by codes, and it doesn't matter if it's a Q code or whatever. Okay, but I'm just going to, these are all the points of where everything's detected, how it works or whatever. But I want to show you this, okay? Right here, ready? This code that you see on the screen, I don't know if I can highlight it, hang on. This is the base code that comes out of a Q code. Everything you see in black is basically coded like this. Okay, here's how it's coded, okay? You basically know which voting system it was. You know which device it came in and the authentic ballot, and you also know the security signature. The difference before that you see in red, okay? The differences you see in red are the stuff you enter in, okay? The stuff you enter in. And so what you need to understand is, yes, all those ballots have codes. But as soon as you touch your ballots, anybody, you or otherwise, and those little boxes are checked, it becomes a brand new code. So it starts one way and it morphs into another piece. And they tell you these can't be changed, right? But the problem is that creates another code within itself. So when you take your name and you take your ballot choices, it by default creates a brand new code. Michael, let's say Ann. So I'm going to use Ann as an example here. If Ann was that code, it would basically say Ann Dunn, right? 4 N's in there. And here's what she did, because that's what it is. Okay, Ann Dunn, here's what they did, and here's how it worked. It's appended to Ann. And so, yes, Chris, they can be duplicated. Every code is supposed to be original. Every single code on these ballots are supposed to be original. The one on the envelope going out goes from the post office, comes to you. That code also says who's going to pay for the postage because it's free. Then it goes to you, right? They have to check it out. They have to register it. Then you get it at home. You open it up, right? You might look at it 2 or 3 or 4 times. You fill it out. You fold it back. You put it back in the inside envelope, not the outside envelope. Inside envelope, send it back. It's logged again. Then it's logged at the ballot, and then it's open. Did you get that envelopes are key? Why are all the envelopes missing? Do you know why the envelopes are missing? Because they were never mailed. If you're going to rush and do these things, there's certain things you don't do. And you're not going to go to the expense of printing the damn envelopes and all the return labels and everything else to go with it. And yeah, so here's the bottom line. The codes can be duplicated. That ballot that somebody answered can just be scanned, Xerox, and go beep, 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 right into the machine. Which is why I had to get involved, because there's a way you can even tell that happens. And that's why I have to do what I do, understanding it and creating the platforms to begin with, to say, look, here it is. I would be the first person, and it's no secret that I love our president, but I would be the first person that if it was our president that did it, I'd be screaming from the rooftop that it was done, that it was not fair, and that he's got to go. I would. Why? Because it's not about any one president or any one freaking 4-year span of our lives. This will set a precedent going forward. If one side wants to get rid of the core family, right? And parents don't have rules, and criminals can be released from jail. We don't prosecute for these things, and marriage is not this, or whatever the case may be. That's what becomes the norm. And that's why this is important, right? I'll just use an egregious example. One state in our union is trying to lower the age of sexual consent among same sexes to 9 years old. Now, I find that abhorrent. But let's kind of say that was a political party, right? And all of a sudden, that political party perpetrated fraud, got in, and once that's done and it's never fought, never dealt with, then that party is going to continually stay in power and only put power in people that believe the same ways they do. They're only going to give power to those same exact kind of people. And so I go back to whoever posted the was with his son, who looked about 9 years old in that picture. Would that be okay with you? That the law says, hey, a guy, if that's a son, and a grown man wants to have sex with your son, well, that's legal age of consent. You can't do crap about it, Dad. That's what's at stake, and it doesn't matter what it is. I would not want to enforce my religious beliefs on you. I think that's a crime too. This is what's called free will. And the only way we have free will is to exercise our voting rights of the populace, live with it, have the checks and balances. Have you ever thought about how freaking brilliant our founders were to do our unique model, that we have these checks and balances, right? We have these checks and balances. But that's why America has been so wildly economic and prosperous, successful over other countries, and why we lead in innovation, and why we lead in technology, and why we have the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world and Elon Musk and whatever, because our system is very unique and it works. That will all go away. You probably have kids, they want to be social media influencers. There won't be. You know why? There's a girl right now over in Egypt that's considered a social media influencer, but because she put on Egyptian garb and stood in front of the pyramids and took that picture and shared it, it was deemed a crime against history. She went to jail. They picked her up the other day. That's what's coming if we can no longer have fair elections in the United States. We, as Americans, will no longer be Americans, and we won't have free will. It's bad enough that you have to fight tooth and nail if you want to teach your child at home, or you don't want your child vaccinated, having a vaccine, and that's not what I'm talking about. But those will become mandatory. They will say things, you can't teach your child at home because we have educators. That's the problem. That's the problem. That's what all of this is about. So put your Trump derangement syndrome aside. Because if this had happened on the Trump side, I'd be just fighting just as hard for the Biden side to say, this is not okay, because I know the end result historically. And this is why, folks, you don't get taught civics or government in school anymore, right? We have generations and generations of governmental knowledge idiots because you don't know anything about it. You don't know how this works. You don't know how the electoral system works, right? And since all of that is gone, we got generations and generations of idiots. What do? They pay attention to the box that tells them this is the way it should be. Won in a landslide, that was it. This is bigger than you think. This is bigger than you think. So please, how about just be nice to each other? How about refrain from commenting on something you don't know anything about? You can say, I don't believe it happened, but to say, it's a fake. And I'm talking to some guy who's a doobie farmer in Massachusetts, that job previous to that was Taco Bell, whose job previous to that is he worked in his mom's lawn care business as the tulip stander upper. Come on, have a basis. Be polite. Think about it. This is your future. It's not about the election. It goes back to that photo I showed you, the one person say, it's about your kid. Get off your hate. Think about your kids and what you would allow for your kids or your grandchildren, because that is what all of this is about. Normally, I would have not come out and talked this, but on my page, I shared it, and I've been getting hammered with people saying, oh, I saw them testifying and using your name and talking about it and blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. You know, I'm busted. But here it is. Danny says, hey, someone has to stand up for tulips. I've heard that about you, Danny, planting a lot of tulips. Yeah. Anyway, look. This is bigger than you can imagine. I've lost amazing sleep over this. My soul hurts. My soul hurts over this. For everybody and for everything. So dig a little deeper. Don't immediately call fraud. Look for other alternatives. And by the way, you know what? If you only get your information from one source, there's a good chance your information's wrong. What if we all still had to read books saying the earth was flat? We'd all be flat earthers. That's what's at stake. So please, look at the evidence yourself and try to be clear enough that you can say, okay, well, what could be in there? Why would they pull out those boxes? Why did they bring in that table? Okay, well, that first aid kit, people say, that's first aid kit. Well, watch the whole tape, not 8 seconds of it. Watch the whole tape. Did they start doing medical triage on these people? No. They pull out wads of paper and went, dig it into the machine. Use your eyes. Use your own eyes. And at worst case, if you feel you have to comment, maybe watch the whole thing and be educated. And then we can have a civil discussion of, okay, what do you really think it was? What do you really think it is? Okay, was it one person doing it? No, it was 4 people doing it. Come on. Try different sources. Try opening your mind. Put President Trump aside and think about the future of this great country we have. And are you willing to let that go? Are you willing to let any one party tell you this is the way you live your life, this is what you have, this is what you buy, this is what you pay for it, and this is how you get your services? I'm not. Ask yourself why you're willing to do that. Because when you're just totally blind to truth and totally blind to crap and won't consider others and won't consider cause and effect, then you are zombies and we are sheeple. And that's our own fault. That's our own fault. So that's what's at stake. It affects all the way. It affects all of us around the world. And I will leave with this one thing. The reason you take off your shoes at the airport and they go through a separate scan is because one time we had a bomber who, in between the soles of the shoes and the bottom, had the plastic explosive. That is why you take off your shoes, right? So I give people a few examples as it takes something bad to happen to make something better. Things don't get better when things are good. You never change them, right? It takes something bad to happen to make things better, period. And so we learn as humans from this. We learn what to look for. We learn what the signs are, okay? And the shoe bomber taught us that. We changed. Now we catch it if that's there. That's how this goes. I was having dinner with Alan Dershowitz, the Harvard wonderful professor, part of the president's legal team, etc. But this was years ago during the OJ trials. And he said something at dinner to me that really just kind of shocked me at the time. He said, the OJ trial and Nicole Simpson Brown's murder was one of the best things to ever happen to the United States of America. And I have to tell you, that shocked the shit out of me, right? So, of course, I asked for a qualification, and he said, because of that instance and that being exposed to the world saw how bad the Los Angeles Police Department screwed up the forensics by walking through the blood, walking through the scene, and basically obliterating evidence. So this is not about whether you think OJ's guilty or not, just the crime scene, right? And that event forever changed forensics for every police department in the world. So please understand, what we are going through right now is one of those watershed moments of where something happened, good, bad, or indifferent, but something happened. We must find out what it is. And it's not a left or a right thing, but what if, in fact, that 10 million ballots were flown in from China and plugged into the system to cause this chaos? Is that okay? No, it's not okay. That is all this is about. And so we have to go through this horrible pain. If you adore President Trump, you're hurting for him, his family, and the party. If you hate President Trump, you're celebrating Biden, but then you got to ask yourself, what if this is not real? Would you still allow it? And so you have a moral judgment to make on both sides. If we discovered horrible fraud for President Trump and disclosed it, you'd have to ask yourself, would you ever support President Trump or that party again? On the other side, you have to ask yourself, if this is proven, this is it. You might not want to hear it. But would you be willing to win at all cost, knowing that once it's done, it forever changes the telemetry of history? And that's what you have to ask yourself. And that's why we have checks and balances. That's why we have rule of law. That's why we have things done to prevent this. The media doesn't decide elections, never has, never will. Just remember that. Try to be civil to each other and understand there are some of the best people imagine working on this stuff. Best people within the agency, some of the best warriors in the world that have basically been in combat hundreds of times over for our country and fought for this very right to vote. And even if you didn't vote for President Trump, this fight is about keeping your vote something that counts, because that is what freedom and free speech is about. This is not about Trump or Biden anymore. It's much bigger. And I just ask if you would consider that. Take care, folks. I love every one of you. Thank you for hearing me. I just got pissed off looking at the comments. It's very hard to suffer idiotic comments. I try to fight myself very hard not to ban people for idiotic comments, and I try to honor your freedom of your own thing, but just don't do layovers and all-overs and troll, and try to participate in the dialogue. Everybody try to have a good day. I'll keep you updated on things I can talk about when I can talk about them. That's it for now. I love you all, right? I love you all. I love you because most of it we've never met. That's totally okay, because I still consider you family and friends, and I care for every one of you. Doesn't matter we met through a computer. You're there. We're there for each other, and I appreciate that. And so I just want you to have as much of the information as I can. This is tough. This is tough, right? It is so tough. This is so freaking horrible, right? I don't think anybody ever thinks they would be alive during the time that you could actually see your own country fail and fall. Anyway, folks, have a great time. Take care. Bye-bye.